Welcome back to Inside Business. Oil consumption and carbon emissions have become a growing focus of the transportation sector. As economies develop, personnel as well as trade-related transport is expanding, challenging policymakers to come up with innovative solutions. So how can the industry be made more environmentally friendly? And is this at all possible on a large scale across the Middle East? To discuss this, we're joined now by Peter Grimsditch, the Editorial Director at publishing and consultancy firm Oxford Business Group. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Now tell me, the transportation industry is inherently energy intensive. Is this more so in the Middle East?
No, in fact, it is incredibly energy intensive. It's probably less so in the Middle East than most of the rest of the world, especially the airline industry, because it's got so many new aircraft which are so much more efficient. But the one big problem that it suffers from in this area, which is common to other areas of the world as well, is that there are far too many airlines. And although cross-ticketing from one airline to another has reduced the number of flights and obviously therefore reduced emissions and reduced energy consumption, I think that there are far too many. And although it's probably revolutionary and nobody would say about it in the United Arab Emirates, for example, it makes sense to me that you would have a merger of Emirates and Etihad. I mean, why would you want two huge... I know nobody would like that.
Very controversial subject there.
But it would make sense, and I'm very confident that one of these days it will happen. Just as one of these days there will be some kind of compromise between Doha and the ever-expanding Qatar Airways and Dubai, especially with the Dubai new airport, and Istanbul in Turkey, which is also vying to be the hub between East and West. So once you can get so many rival, conflicting interests among various airlines, then you begin to get real savings.
Very interesting prediction there. You heard it here first on Inside Business. Now, do you think there is a genuine interest in exploring other alternative, more environmentally friendly solutions here?
Unless there is a revolution in propulsion of aeroplanes, I don't think we're really going to find any huge savings in that area, apart from more efficient engines. On land, we are going to make a lot of savings as soon as people can be educated out of using the motor car. But again, this is a universal problem. This is not just the Gulf. And the metro train in Dubai is a very good example. The only way that will ever become efficient is if all the feeder buses are efficient, because nobody is going to get off a train, no matter how comfortable, clean and swift it is from here to there, if you have to do more than about 10 feet of walking in 52 degrees.
Yes, but it's perfect in winter, of course. So what sort of behavioural changes are needed then to help tempt people to do this sort of thing?
I think that the major cities of the entire region at some point will have to introduce a London-style tax to drive your car into the middle of the city. People are not easily going to give up their motor cars, especially in an area that's not noted for its efficient public transport. There is also sort of the difference that in a place like Britain or the metro in Paris, it's kind of unique class. To travel in a bus in the Gulf is sort of for the lower orders. Now, I know that sounds really awful, but nevertheless, there is this snob factor coming into it. And also, of course, there's a cultural factor in that you may well require different places for men and women to ride, just as there are women taxi drivers as a taxi service for women. And you may need a whole carriage on the metro and whole minibuses for women to travel. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, of course. It's just in line with local culture. But it's very difficult to get people out of their cars when it is so cheap to run them. And the only way to get them out is to make it not cheap to run them, but at the same time to produce something that is clean, efficient, and relatively cheap for a lot of people, and make sure that they don't have to walk more than 10 feet from the local train service to the feeder bus service. Otherwise, they'll all be sweating and disgusting by the time they arrive wherever they're going.
Yes, certainly some big behavioural changes needed. Can be particularly challenging, I think, in the region here, but very inspiring. Thank you so much for joining us today, Peter. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, our pleasure as well. Well, that's it for this episode of Inside Business. Of course, you can contact us by writing to ib@city7tv.com. Don't forget, you can also view our previous shows online at YouTube. Simply search for Inside Business 01. But for now, from all of us on the business desk, goodbye and thanks for watching.